It just, is, your sister here? Yes. Okay. We'll have her come up real quick to explain the event that she's having, so. State your name.
Hello, my name is Bridget Robinson. I'm a medical social worker representing his kidney care here downtown. And I'm putting on an event September the 21st, kidney awareness event, because it's on the rise. In the past year, our clinic, first of all, our clinic holds 120 people. In the past year, I lost 22 patients. So I want to make an awareness that your kidney, kidney disease in itself, how much it affects your body, affects your eyes, affects your teeth, it affects everything in the body. The two main things that blow out your kidneys is uncontrollable high blood pressure and uncontrollable diabetes. So it's almost an epidemic. Ben Harbor, the surrounding areas that have clinics is Waterville, Leak, and Niles. Transportation is my biggest barrier. They can't get there. I actually have a waiting list to get on dialysis. Lakeland only dialyze Mondays, Wednesdays. They don't dialyze every day. They turn patients away. They don't have the staff. And on dialysis, that's your lifeline. If you don't dialyze, you just die. That's just how it is. My patient dialyzes 3 days a week, every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, or every Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday. So I want to do awareness, share chairs, everybody know a patient, know a friend, a family member. I have a sister that's on dialysis. And that's it. If they're not urinating or they make the mistake, I'm taking my Lasix and that water pill make you urinate, but that's that water pill. They hold in the water, causing them to build up fluid, stop their breathing, and they die within a day. So I want to cause awareness from chronic to acute, to bring awareness to the city, because I think this is an event that's much needed. So I have flyers if anybody have any questions.
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am. Oh.
So I have a question. So with the awareness, you're going to talk about some of the causes. My mother was a dialysis patient.
Yes, ma'am. I got some sponsors like Lakeland Unaccredited Union. I have nurses out there from Fresenius to answer any questions. I got pamphlets, all kind of information to talk about dialysis. Because my youngest patient is 19, my oldest is 90. And we just lose them because they don't have nobody to bring them there.
I have a question, because you said it's a lack of staff. I know some of them are nurses, but all of them are not nurses. So they're looking for people to fill that particular education field as well?
Yes, for PCT, the one that put the person on dialysis, all they need is a high school diploma, because we train you, totally train. And we need, we have the staff. Lakeland don't have the staff. If you send you to Lakeland, it's been time they send them back to us and say, we don't have nobody here to dialyze them. But because of the city, we got, it's the policy. We can't run nobody after 10 o'clock at night. That water shuts off. That water has to be purified, and it don't do it.
One last question, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
The facility that was in St. Joe, is that one closed down?
That's closed down. Ben Harbor Clinic right here, the only one we have. And like I say, we overloaded. We have a wait list. I actually had 2 people walk in and say, "Kid, I get dialyzed," and I had to turn them around because we don't have the chair. We run 3 shifts.
Mm-hmm. So the place that you're speaking about is the hospital.
They don't have a staff.
They don't have a
Lakeland
staff.
Spectrum, they don't have a staff. They only dialyze, I believe, on Mondays and Wednesdays. We dialyze 6 days a week, 3 shifts.
Yeah, I'm quite familiar with the location. We transport at least 5 patients that we transport there, and there's worse or more than they were then, the number that you said passed in the last year. And you see them on one day, and next day you call and somebody said they went to the hospital and they did. So, and it is busy down there. It is also one up in Water Relief too.
Yes.
Take people there. So this event is going to take place on September 21st.
Yes, sir.
What day that fall on a
Saturday.
Saturday.
From 11 to 3. And I'm gonna try to serve a renal friendly diet. for the people, because it's all about they have to eat healthy. We grow up, eat your vegetables, but for a dialysis patient, potatoes is not good for you. High in fiber, they cannot have potatoes. If they do it in moderation once a month, you know, fried chicken once a month, it better cook it at home than running the KFC. So it's a lot of things that we grew up on tradition that we as a dialysis patient, you just can't do. And it's the lack of knowledge. They're not aware, you know, because I'm sure everybody grew up, eat your vegetable, eat for a dialysis patient. They can't just eat any vegetable. Corn is another one.
I don't know your work schedule, but we also have another outlet to get this information out to the radio station that I'm the general manager. If we can get you scheduled to come in on the shows to, you know, just get this announcement out, basically get some education, if you'd be willing to do that.
Yes, sir. I appreciate that.
All right.
Are you, this last question, I don't know if this might relate to us, are you going to any of the churches?
Are you talking to Mike,
I'm
please?
sorry, are you going to any of the churches to put that information up as well? Because that would be a great resource going on.
Yeah, I've been trying to get my flyers out everywhere, posting them up. I'm posting them at the stores and everywhere, posting on Facebook. This will be our first one, getting it together. Trying to look for support, because honestly, I'm kind of doing it by myself. And so trying to get to support volunteers who's not working that day. Like I live in Kalamazoo, but I work here. So trying to get people to help who's not working, volunteers. I got bouncy houses, you know, the friendly diet. I have nurses there checking blood pressures, anything we can do and information to bring awareness to dialysis. Because like I say, it's becoming an epidemic. We get young people now, 19, that's young. I just lost a patient last week, 26.
Thank you.
Okay.
All right.
Thank
Thank you.
you, Chair, if you would stay just for a moment. I came in late, but I won't ask you to back up. I'll just pick up on what I heard so far. And it's running rapid. That's scary. That was my initial concern when we were talking about, or actually getting consent for one to be where it is now. And this awareness, I pray, is to inform the people as to how to eat and take care of self before it gets to this point. Is Lakeland sponsoring you all with this event or anything else?
No.
Okay, now that's a concern of mine. Because we've
They
had,
did, well, they're not sponsoring me, but they did give me, because dialysis faculty, they gave me toothbrushes and bags.
okay, I guess what I'm saying is they're building on another wing. So you have no affiliation with Lakeland, Spectrum Lakeland.
No.
No, I'm talking about the dialysis center itself.
No, I was just telling them, they don't even dialyze every day. They only dialyze a couple of days a week. We dialyze 6 days a week.
The commissioner, that's totally separate.
Okay, I was just hoping that it was something that we could do because they were going to come before us and they yet have to show up. I sat at the table with them when they first merged and they were talking about community needs and stuff and we've yet to hear from them.
Right, that's so we have to take it with them. Thank you for
Okay,
your,
but thank you
Okay, thank you.
and good luck.
Thank you.
You know my cousin Paulette.
Can a citizen ask a question too?
wait.
Don't leave yet. Two things. Do you have a on-call for people which can help get citizens to your program?
What you mean
Excuse me, I started out on the wrong foot, so just hold on for 1 second. Do you have a listing of people would actually help get patients to your clinic?
Oh, for our transportation?
Yeah,
Yes.
you have a listing?
Mhm.
I mean, I like to get on that list first of all, and then secondly, I like to know why you don't have the phone number on this piece of paper.
Oh, okay, I just forgot. It's just the dialysis clinic, it's only one, it's the same one. We only have one. But I
But
can
if
get it
you're
to you.
sending stuff out in the community, I'm not complaining. I'm just.
Well, I apologize, this is my
I'm
first
not, I'm
event.
not on your case, sister, I'm just
Okay.
bringing it to your attention. Everybody takes it like I'm assaulting somebody, I'm not assaulting you in no way, shape, form, or fashion. You guys can stop that mess too.
That's all.
So,
I don't take offense. Thank you.
Thank you.
We're gonna move to the,
Mr. Chair, can we ask for the phone number so?
okay,
Make sure we have.
can you give us that phone number now?
I'm giving you first.
What's your
now we all-
phone number? 269. This is Christina's right here downtown. 269-605-0135.
I just want to ask a question. It seemed like, when this facility was open, it's been sold? Is this a new owner?
Yes.
Or changed the name?
They changed the name. It was, Liberty, but now it's Fresenius.
Really? So it's a new owner?
I believe so. I've only been there a little over a year.
You've been there a little over a year?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
All right, we're gonna move to the next item on the agenda is the metric
And I need your information.
report.
Good afternoon, Commissioner, citizens, and what everybody doing today. We are, not a whole lot. Make sure you can hear me. Okay, good evening. There's not a whole lot we have this month. The report, we were 670 calls for service in August. I think somewhere I'm gonna do it. 68 arrests, 61 of those adults, 7 being juvenile. Department issued 21 citations. Most of those juvenile arrests were J5s and or felony arrests. Our fire loads right now, it's staying down that way. 15 calls for service in August. You told me that 3-4 years ago. I never believed it. That is for the month of August, not for a week in August. The new fire engine is been delivered to Michigan. It's in Kalamazoo being dressed out. You see the doors downstairs of the firehouse have been widened, they're being worked on. When I first looked inside the middle door, bay door, where we put the ladder truck, that was after the bays. I stared at it for like 10 minutes, like literally, because before we had literally an inch on each side of the mirror for all the years that we had that ladder truck. So that's very good. Again, I don't know if you realize that our fire station is historical. We're the only fire station to still have a fire pole. We are a legitimate fire station. There are many firefighters who have worked their career who have never seen a fire pole. That might sound small or silly, but that's the history that we have here. Deputy Director Phelps continued to work with the city manager and water department on the confined space program. And then we have lockout, tag out, I think, for that same process. Here are the stats here that you'll be able to see. The report for the city manager, he's reviewing it, and then it'll go out to the committee. Again, look at our fire load way down. Budget-wise, we are. I got my update for this month. I went and sat down with Rhonda. As you know, I'm extremely conservative, and I like to be under what the projected budget amount is for the particular month that we're in. And right now we should be at 16.94%, and we are exactly at that. So, I like being under. Some things to note, just when you get this and when you look at it, we should be at 16.94%. I think my point, if you can see that. Yeah, it's tiny, isn't it?
Can we do that?
You get it every month, Commissioner. So, let me start. Couple of things to note. We had went through a couple items that were actually improperly categorized or subscribed to us, so we had changed those with finance. One thing I want to bring to your attention is we had a new purchase this year, which was upfront with the deaths of citizens as well as police officers. from exposure to fentanyl and opioid powders. We had bought 18 decontamination kits in case an officer happens to be contaminated with some type of opioid. It's a cost we did not have before that we have this year. Additionally, we have, if you look at one of the line items, for example, for software licensing, 18%. Some things are upfront. We paid some renewals for July and August. So we are right where we're supposed to be. And I want to be, of course, lower than that. So for this fiscal year, we have come a long way. As far as equipment, we almost, city manager, I said almost have everything that we would like to have. But we went from being the bottom and holes in the bottom of our floors of our cars to having the top equipment in the county. So I'm very pleased with that. So you will not see many big expenditures coming up. And as you know, we procure grants for major things that we're looking for. So that's that. Again, it's part of the report that you'll have. Personnel wise, we had Officer Kinsler, who you met several times, has now completed FTO. He is on his own. He did very well. We still have 2 cadets in the academy. Again, they're doing well. We've had a really good run of representation in Ben Harbor like the last 2 years at the police academy. So we're really pleased with that. With our candidates finishing in the top 5, that really looks good for us. So, co-compliance officer Maurice Bruce, if you recall, he was a person we have. Unfortunately, due to a physical ailment, he could not actually go to the police academy. Subsequently, he's an outstanding employee, born and raised with the school in Ben Harbor. So you don't throw out the baby with the bathwater. So what can we do to move him forward in his cross training? He has since become, he just passed Fire Inspector 1, went down to Alabama for that. He is now a certified fire inspector, that is for commercial inspections of commercial fire suppression systems. Additionally, before that, he became a fire investigator 1 and 2. He is the only one on this side of the state, first in the area on this side of the state. So we're extremely proud of him. And we're moving forward with his training. He's just eating it up. So kind of skip to that. Public outreach, we continue to work with bringing back our chess club. Make talks with Pastor Lark to use his location as we meet maybe once a week, once a month at the location. I've not yet reached out to the school district yet. We want to get back into the elementary schools and middle schools. We don't have any more, I think, in our city, but we still have committed to the district that we would go and help them the best we can, although they may not have schools in the city. So we continue with that. Where work is going phenomenally, reestablishing the block club program. It's gaining momentum. Citizens are getting involved. I'm getting calls. They're being asked. We'll be working with the Sharps Foundation to plan a public forum in 2020. She's not here. So we want to get back. As you remember, we did one last year. One really well. I like to do at least 2 a year. I'd like to get back on that. We want to let all the election stuff happen. We would like to partnership agents with organizations, and I think this is a phenomenal one. One thing I will say, and I want to put this out there, is I'm transparent. Myself and Mrs. Swanigan happen to be related through marriage. That's not why we're working with her. Matter of fact, I just met her last year. If, for transparency's sake, we have an issue with that, I will recuse myself as deputy director. I'll work with her, but I believe this is an organization that we need a partnership with, a desire to, and hopefully it won't be a problem moving forward. Again, publicly in the era of transparency, there it is. So I'd like to get your input on that. Let me know what your thoughts are.
I don't see any conflict of interest. You won't be signing her checks or asking for no money for.
Not at all. But to be above board honest, she's extremely intelligent. She's sharp. Keeps me on my toes. That's why. And nothing to do with names. So again, the right thing to do is that. I think the man would agree. So moving on from there. Also, we work with Cap Alpha Psi, who's making a comeback. We've had meetings to help with young men's leadership in the high school and in the area, not just people at the high school, but other students that we have lost in different schools. As we know, there's a huge vacuum for male role model leadership for our young men. So we're working with that. That's going pretty well. Police status mentioned the engine is being outfitted. We should get that in about 4 weeks or so. Talked about the decontamination kits. It's only being $5,800. So it was upfront cost, but I think safety there's no price tag for it. And then lastly, we have still not heard on our application to FEMA for getting new SCBA and new air tank. You called me, had a question. Reference to the tire pickup, couple of things. Hoping I can hear the manager. We got to next week to get those trailers back, which will give us time to get everything going. We are also advised that they have, Mr. Mitchell, money for us if we want to get another trailer moving forward, which might be a great idea for that cleanup you talked about in October. So we'll coordinate that when we meet. And I guess I'm done because the lights came on. That's like the pastor throwing the white towel. I'm all set, sir. Any questions?
Thank you for your report.
I have a question about the,
Yes, ma'am.
about the opioid kits. 'Cause just listening to a lot of stuff about it, they didn't have any grants available for police departments or cities to purchase those kits from. To purchase those, you said it was a $5,000 upfront cost. So how many kits were there?
It's 18, gonna be in total. And honestly, what made it important for us is we had, over like the last 6 months, I don't know how many cops dropped dead from touching the power they didn't know. Before you know it, it's over. So very scary. You know, we got a lot of fathers, sons. I think that you've always been very supportive of us in our safety. So we had the epidemic, as you know, comes up and down. So when you see like people dropping dead from heroin and what being labeled with fentanyl and carfentanil, that stuff is not just in those drugs. So honestly, it scares me to death for my heart to go up in my chest because I touched some powder I didn't know. So yeah, I made kind of a game time decision on that. It's in our budget, but I will be wise moving forward with any other purchases.
I was asking, so is there, because they're always saying that there are monies available or police departments or cities can get them free if they call such and such a number. Has that offer been made by the county or anybody?
So we've received free the actual Narcan kits.
Okay.
We get those free because those are pretty pricey too. So we get those, and we keep our eyes out. If there's some out there, we'll find it. If you hear something, let us know. We'll definitely explore it. I think the grant that we got recently, we're using for something else. But yeah, we always apply for grants. Know that. So
How much was the total kit?
it was I think 58, 18, 35. In 2 purchases. One was the actual chemical decontamination, and they came with a kit and this company had just put them together because it had become such an outcry for departments because of cops dropping dead recently. And we actually were the first to get them that this company made. So, and I also passed the information on to Barrett County Sheriff Department, St. Joe, and Benton Township.
We got this already, but it'll be
Deployed.
okay. But the bill will be coming to us later to approve it.
No, this is over the course of
Oh.
last like 3 to 4 months.
Oh.
Just so you know.
All right.
Yeah, you know, I don't buy nothing without approval.
I'm
Yeah,
stuck.
all over the country. No, we're not gonna be talking about armor. That's what we're gonna change.
No, safety first, though, Chair. I'm stuck on that. Find that is it a substance that comes out of their pores or something of a human being that's.
So give you an example, I know one of the last I knew was on a traffic stop. So we go to an overdose. Person is dying because they got something laced with bad. Also might go to an overdose. They're investigating the scene, trying to secure it, bumps into something that they don't realize is powdery,
penetrates their skin, gets in their blood system, and they're down. Okay, I mean, it's that quick. I think Clark might know, he's over here. Right.
I mean,
You find something?
No, I mean, I can go into it more if you want.
just briefly,
So you have two substances that are out here now that have been illegally produced that are opiate based, fentanyl and carfentanil. Both of them are very, very powerful narcotics for pain relief. The fentanyl generally comes in like those patches, those time release patches that people get through the day. And then carfentanil is an animal tranquilizer. Well, what has happened is some of the narcotics dealers that are selling heroin are mixing carfentanil and fentanyl into the heroin they're selling because they can cut it, stretch it more, sell it for less, and make more money.
okay, that's too much information, but thank you, oh Lord, safety first.
We have not had any officers die in the city. We have had officers contaminated and get sick, and we've had citizens die
Okay.
from it. The young lady at the baseball fields, the young man behind the church on Britain. There have been several.
Okay, I remember those, but like, safety first. Just, I'd like to be educated about some things.
Okay.
One last thing moving forward, would it be possible, we talked about this yesterday, to put for next month discussion on Block Club Authority, and then also protect DNA as part of that Block Club initiative piece that we've been pushing back. That's to protect people's homes from home invasions by labeling their property. If we can do that.
By what? I'm sorry.
Okay.
By doing what to their property?
It's called Protect DNA, and it's a free program, and they can take these actual like specialized tags and put on their property. So if it's ever stolen, your TV or your mic or whatever have its own DNA fingerprint. It's free to citizens. I'd like to incorporate that here. It'd be nominal cost to us, but I think that that would be huge as far as protection of our citizens.
Thank you, sir. When you mentioned DNA, I'm almost embarrassed to have to share this. And I don't know what to do, but the last thing I need to do is be into it with my neighbors. To the chair. My husband goes to work every morning.
And same time.
And this morning, I just happened to be looking out the window, seeing him off. And this little guy up the street that walks the street all the time, he kept coming from behind his house, and I'm like, what is wrong with him? So I just stood there and proceeded to watch him. And for some reason, y'all know I record something in a minute, okay? And I just happened to start recording. And he proceeded to, when my husband bent the corner, he came across the street to our property, the end of 1, 2, I think we had 3 lots there. Came over to the end lot by the fence on Ohio, and he proceeded to dump something. I really didn't know what he was doing until I actually finished videoing him after he left from pouring out whatever it was. And when I looked at it later and I enlarged it and looked closer, I'm like, what in the world? So a couple of days had went by, and some said, well, you know, you meant to go over there to see what that was that old dude had poured out. So I went over there and I'm like, I just saw flies, and I mean, I see them all the time, but not like that, but I didn't think anything of it. And I forgot to tell my husband, and when I did, he took it upon himself to go over to see what it was. And when he came back, I told him to take pictures of it. It was feces. Now, what do you do when somebody dumped their feces on your property?
Call the popo.
You get taken care of.
Yeah.
I mean, I want him to come clean it up. I ain't fussing just locking somebody up over anything and banning somebody for anything. Sometimes I think public embarrassment is enough, or you would think it should be.
You took the picture, you put it on Facebook.
Too much information. Too much information.
But yeah, you should call the police if you.
The photos that put up yesterday, wasn't it?
I don't know, I ain't been over there.
He probably toilet don't work.
No, I'm gonna be honest with you, because if things get out of hand, I'm gonna do what I need to do.
Just keep
And then I'm just letting you know.
Don't talk, don't
I
tell it.
Okay.
Okay, all right, thank you, Commissioner.
All right.
We're gonna go ahead and move to the next item on the agenda. And that's, Ms. Melvin Gavin, presentation.
Hey, I want to thank you. Can you all hear me okay?
No.
It's freezing.
It's all good. We'll go in and out.
Just do it, do the best you can do.
I guess I'll just use my teacher voice.
Correct.
Can you all hear me?
Yes.
Okay, good deal. So first of all, I thank you all for having me. Just by a show of hands, how many people here have heard of Peace for Life or the Peace Walk that we do every year? Okay, good deal, good deal. So okay, all right. So, what I'm presenting to you is I am a bit of the personality type that I have. There's 16 personality types, and mine is INFJ, which means that I'm left brain and right brain, logical and creative. And when I see a problem, it nags me. Like I have to identify a solution. I look at all of the different puzzle pieces and I try to figure out, okay, how can we create a systemic solution to a reoccurring problem? And one reoccurring problem, especially with me being an African American, one reoccurring problem that I've seen in my life and the lives of the people that I love and the citizens is racial equity issues. And so, as you all know, Benton Harbor area schools has seen a lot of those issues as well. We're going to get into that. But just to identify who I am affiliated with a race to equity hub in Benton Harbor. We are associated with the Michigan Roundtable of Diversity and Inclusion out of Detroit. And what they did was they noticed that predominantly Black cities across the state of Michigan have had similar problems. And so they wanted to identify community activists in each area. They wanted to connect those activists with historians, and they wanted to kind of identify trends, problems that's happening in Detroit, Saginaw, Flint, Benton Harbor, across the state. And so we started to do that, and we realized that there were a lot of things that were happening in our city that was happening across the state. So we're doing that. In that experience, I became a certified racial equity healing stories coach and consultant, meaning that I was able to work with adults and young people, helping them to turn their trials and tribulations into solutions. And a lot of times we thought about, policy solutions that could come from that. I have been an educator. I've taught in the school system since from 1999 to 2015. So I've worked with a lot of students, setting up. My latest work with the school system as a teacher was setting up business management class, a business management class, which meant that all of my students had to create their own business from scratch. They had to create a business plan, and I had about 140 students there. And then, of course, I had some other creative jobs that I had. But from that, working with those students, we came up with Peace for Life. Working with those students, I asked the students, if you could solve one problem in the school, what would that problem be that you would solve? and I'm thinking they're gonna, you know, want better food in the cafeteria. They said that they wanted peace. They were tired of the bullying, they were tired of being disrespected and different things of that nature. And so that's how we came up with the Peace Walk, Peace Day, all of those other things. And the purpose of Peace for Life was to teach the students that they can come up with their own solutions. They don't have to be the future, they can be the present. And so, as you know, Benton Harbor area schools has been under the threat of shutdown for several years. And so our latest initiative was protecting the school itself. And so what we found is that it wasn't just a Benton Harbor problem, it was a racial equity problem across the state. And so in our research, we found out that racism is actually a crisis epidemic. I submitted some documents to the commissioners, which gave some details about how this is a crisis epidemic. I believe that Lynn Todman was going to come in and talk about how people are literally dying from racism. We see a lot of things happening, both health-wise, both, you know, from brutality, from just not having access to support. And so it's an ongoing problem, it's systemic, it's subliminal. Sometimes people don't even know what racism really is. And we face a lot of bureaucracy, meaning, you know, a gentleman may come in and complain to the city government, and you got to wait another month for them to identify a solution. And by then, your problem has already escalated.
For years.
And years, right? So we look and we see kind of the same stuff going on, and then we engage in this blame game. Well, it's your fault, it's your fault, it's your fault. Well, in order to have a situation where everyone has this equity, you have to be willing to identify a solution that will do something like scaffolding. Anybody that knows what scaffolding is, that's when you put something up against a building and you say, okay, while I'm working on this building, I'm putting these supports in place so that I can bring this building up to the level, up to the code where it needs to be. Also, I would like to know how much time do I have left, because I want to make sure I don't go over time.
We get 10 minutes.
How much?
3 minutes.
3 minutes.
10.
10 minutes.
Not really, don't listen to me.
Okay, 10 minutes.
The chair says 10.
Okay, good deal, thank you. And so what I realized is that that's what we need to do in order for us to achieve what is called equity. Some people have seen this picture, some people have not. Notice the people here. On the left, they say, oh, well, you have equality. We gave everybody the same thing, right? That's what happened. You have 400 years of slavery, mass incarceration, all these other issues with African Americans, and they say, oh, we gave you the same thing, so you should be okay. But never looking at the individual unique needs of that group who has been systemically held back. And so in order to achieve equity, you have to actually look at what specifically has been withheld from this group, and how do we put the actual scaffolds in place to make sure that everyone can see the same thing, so that everyone has that opportunity. And so in order for us to solve the problem from a city level, you have to be willing to address it systemically and identify what is going on with our community, because Benton Harbor is over 85% Black, right? What is going on with our community in a way that we can systemically provide a solution? And so unless you are willing to provide equity solution, you're not going to get this. And so when you look at the solutions, you need to be willing to provide ongoing oversight, right, of those specific racial equity issues, ongoing, not just at every meeting when somebody's complaining. You need to be proactive. You need to have processes and procedures embedded both in the education and in an actual office, right, where you are dealing with those issues on a regular basis. And when I say education, it's because a lot of people don't really know, what racism is. They think it's, oh, well, I don't like black people, I don't like white people. It's a whole lot deeper than that. You can be an African American and be committing racism against another African American. Okay, and so if you do not have that education about what racial equity is, you can be offending your own people. And so another solution is to identify strategic alliances, right? So the city of Benton Harbor should not be operating by itself. The city of Benton Harbor should be connecting with other cities who have the same unique issues, should be connecting with other organizations who have an expertise in racial equity issues as well. And then there should be some ordinances, right? There should be some specific ordinances in place to require other organizations that interact with us, to require them to have racial equity education, to require them to have some racial equity supports in place for the people that they are engaging with, which is the people of Benton Harbor. One of the solutions that we have is a Stand for Peace plan, and I gave the commissioners a copy of that. We don't have a lot of time, but basically the difference between the plan is looking at gentrification that we're going to face or we're facing in Benton Harbor, schools closed, higher bills, increased incarceration, or creating a pipeline to peace and prosperity project where you're looking at creating vocational jobs for the citizens, protecting your Benton Harbor High School students, protecting your grads, and protecting your residents, and turning your high school or your properties into a place that can provide these types of supports, like paid study programs, better high-tech campuses, you know, just a whole lot of things that I've provided already, and I'm willing to provide to the other people in the audience if you will give me your email or something afterwards. So the solution is being systemic. One of the solutions I recommend is creating racial equity renaissance zones, right? Protecting your land with actual ordinances, okay? Saying that certain jobs are in place for the African American residents, the Benton Harbor High School students, the people in the community. Now, you all will have to figure out how you can legally do that, what, you know, how that's going to work for you. Those are just recommendations that I have. I'm not the lawyer. I just noticed that the money is being rerouted away from these people, and they are losing, you know, they're ending up moving away or just not having jobs and being disenfranchised. Another solution is establishing a Department of Racial Equity Reform. Establishing an actual department within your municipality so that you have an office in there where they are requiring the other entities to support racial equity issues. So let's say if I have a Cornerstone Alliance, I can say, okay, Cornerstone Alliance, who is your diversity and inclusion racial equity person? Who is the person in your entity that's making sure that the people and the businesses in this community are being served, the African Americans in this community are being served in an equitable way? And so now you're putting that onus on them to be responsible in that area. And now what you're doing, instead of the citizens complaining or having problems, you are attracting those ideas and those dollars to you and to your citizens, and you're putting the responsibility out to everyone in a strategic and systemic way. So the benefits of that is the peace of mind. You have a sanctuary city. You have a place where people will want to come and feel safe. You're creating a precedent that other cities will follow. You're creating and establishing a legacy. You're actually able to say, I did something concrete for my people that has never been done before, right? And it can be very powerful. And it's a shared accomplishment. It's not just it's we did it. right? And so when they say, what are you gonna do for the schools? What are you gonna do for the people? What are you da-da-da? This is what we've done, right? And it can only get better from there. And then, of course, you're creating an income stream, right? Because now you have educated citizens, you have citizens with jobs, you have citizens who can pay their taxes and different things of that nature. And then you have a more established partnership with the school district. How would you have a partnership with the school district? By implementing that zoning of protection. And then also having a relationship with Peace for Life and saying, okay, we would like your youth ambassadors to sit on our racial equity committee. We would like your youth ambassadors to sit on our committee as advisors and participate, in what's going on within your city, right? And so it can be a very powerful thing. I believe my time is probably up.
Yeah.
But, I think it's really a thing of, how would you like to see that happen? It's not me forcing anything on you. It's more so saying, this is what can happen. And what do you all, how do you all see a next step occurring or something like that?
Okay, lights, please. Okay, what I would like to see happen moving forward, the next step is to let's begin to create a foundation, an infrastructure for that racial equity. And I think to do that, what we have to do is create a committee that will be made up of citizens, staff, commission to begin to put the nuts and bolts together and then begin to make the recommendations to commission. So I think the first thing would be to establish a committee and begin to work out those things and get the ball rolling. It's definitely something that's needed. Other communities, City of Grand Rapids, they passed a civil rights bill. It's a local civil rights bill that kind of going on to something similar that you just talked about. And I think, we just need to get on board and begin to put those things in place. So what I'll be proposing is that they bring it to the full commission, the resolution action that a committee be established to deal with those issues and make the appointments.
I love that, because that way we can attract experts and really get around that issue.
Commissioner Adams,
I was gonna say, yeah.
Oh, wait. Okay,
So I have several questions, and I do like the way that you posed so that we can shape this. And I love the idea of a committee first because it's the first step in the grand scheme. When you and I talked before, I ask a lot of questions. And like I told you before, I don't jump into anything lightly. And I ain't jumping to marriage and kids, none of that lightly. So when I'm doing something, I'm taking it in. I actually read both proposals very in-depthly and highlighted it on my computer and that kind of thing. So I read both of them. So I did notice the changes in both of those proposals that you put together. I noticed the change of the 20 and 60% students. So like you said, it is a working document that we can change, because I still disagree with us passing a resolution, but I do agree with the committee structure. So we're developing something that works for us in the city, because everything that you said, I 100% agree with it. I have children, and especially sons, they all face the same issues, whether they attend Benton Harbor Area School or not. They still have faced some of the same issues. So my other question before we move on, have you also presented this to Benton Harbor Area Schools? And in our discussions before, I asked you, because this Benton Harbor Area Schools own their property, they can put stipulations in their selling price or saying that we'll only sell to this kinds of persons. So they have more leverage even than we do when it comes to their property. So I asked you, had you taken that to them? And I still didn't get, a response. You can answer that in a bit, but I do love the idea of a committee forming that. And my other question is, because I see you, but I also see you trying to pass the buck. So with this office, it would be great if you headed up this office, because you're already doing some of this work already. So why don't you head up this office?
Committee.
This committee,
Um,
we'll talk about that. Stop trying to pass the buck. You're jumping into this, so you're gonna jump into it.
No, I think that's.
I think that's a great idea.
First of all, that's a good. And
So,
I trust me, so.
yeah, so I think that would be a great thing to do. Okay, I think that was it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for that, and I just want to answer that. So, as you know, with Benton Harbor School, it's a little complicated. And so what I've done is I've shared the plan with multiple board members, with multiple teachers. I think that this is something, it's more of a movement than something you could just say, okay, everybody's on board. And so those who have taken the time to read it, I've gotten very positive feedback, from 2 board members who, you know, very much, interested in that. But it has to be something that everyone on the board agrees with. So I just say that, like I said, every entity has a responsibility to do their part. And so what I'm doing is just sharing it with everyone and then kind of letting them figure out, you know, how can they be a part of this? How can they create it? So, yeah, the goal is for them to take it up as an organization. But I'm also working with the Black History Committee at Benton Harbor High School. We're meeting next week, and they are, you know, very much on board with this as well. So sometimes you have to work through whoever sees it first, and then go from there. But thank you for that.
Commissioner Adams and the chief.
No, I'm gonna let Chief go.
I'm yielding to the chief.
First of all, I'm utterly fascinated. I'm a sociologist, so I love that. Imagine you sent it to me, so you make sure you send it to me. We partner with them kind of as a police department or the public safety department. It would be nice if maybe the city has a partnership. This is a piece of Mayberry again. I love to work with that. And as I hear this, I would love to see this if we can move towards either one or a series of forums to discuss. This is not a discussion you talk about right here in a committee meeting. And the thing that comes to me is our identity. How do we get to change our identity to demand equity? That's how you about to get me started to preach. Yeah, I'm 100%. Please.
All right, so, Commissioner Adams.
Chair, I'm gonna pick up where Chief just left off. And I'm just sitting here asking myself, do we really know what it is to be, racial, this thing with racial inequity and everything? I'm all for everything that Mrs. Gavin has put forth. I couldn't take my brother's keeper and just put it in her lap because she had some other things going on, but what my brother's keeper does is strengthen all of these type of things that the whole community been talking about. But for some reason, it seems like our own people have been racist against it, which is why we have gotten nowhere. But I want to assure you that upon my meeting this morning with my grant writer, that things are yet to come. And we're putting it on the fast track. And I'm not going to even discuss what it is because I will not have it destroyed or look up and see it coming down the street coming from the Nexus or that end of Main Street.
I think that's why I believe this is, you know.
Exactly.
Started so we can
As
protect ourselves against a lot of the stuff that's been going on. So I think we're all on track.
Yeah.
It just, we gotta get the ball rolling. Commissioner.
As a city commissioner, as a gatekeeper, as well as the rest of us, when it comes to policy and procedure and the lawmakers of this home rule city, I'm tired of going through what we have been going through and enduring with our school system. And I've watched this ever since I've come back home. Like it's just falling off over into the water, over into the lake. And we need to find out what powers we have as a government as a home rule city to put a stop to or take control of our schools. We have allowed others to come in and put others out of work that has brought this city thus far as taxpayers. Their bus driving jobs. A lot of jobs just outsourced. And then we had an emergency manager come through the city to do the same thing, to just basically dismantle us, cause us to be even more dysfunctional amongst ourselves, like we're guinea pigs just spinning around on a wheel. I'm tired of spinning. I demand action.
Preach it to the choir. We're gonna say amen.
Pass the plate.
Thank you. Appreciate that. I do discover my constituents, and it is staff presentation, a little bit of read and seen, I will concur. There's some tweaking in there that I think needs to happen, because a lot of this is because of failed organizations, like NAACP, which is a failed organization by area. And if we can somehow incorporate and bring this all together to fruition, and as the chief said, maybe we can do some forums, but then it has to go further than that. So we have to start correcting behaviors. That's even for liquor stores, put mandates on how many we're gonna allow in areas, and stopping some other stuff, and people even using our statistics who are not using it the right way. If you're not doing what's right about the people, you should not get the people's money. And so that school that Al Bashoka put down there, we didn't ask him for that. We asked for that to be at Ben Arbor High School. But he took the money and appropriated it towards his own. Ain't nobody said nothing about that.
No.
See, that's what these organizations, these committees need to start doing. Is not just talking, but we need some people to start walking and put some paper on these people behind, because connections, that's not what that's for down there. What they doing with that, they bring people from all over and act like they help them Ben Arbor. So we have to start mandating again. But it's systemic racism, and there's also classism too. So then it's not, it don't just start here. I'm gonna leave it with this. With that, as a commission, we need to start, and I'm not saying start, we should be finished by now, getting us a magistrate. That should have been done a long time ago, magistrate. I mean, that begins to deter behavior in this direction when you have your own magistrate, and some things you don't have to take to Berrien County. And you don't have, and that brings income back into the city. I got a call the other night from Michael Ward. He said they were burning down in the Arts District. I had to call the police because they had a bonfire down there. And people just do anything they want to do. They still got that thing on the side of the building, but they ain't taking it down. Even though we got an ordinance against it. On the side of that building over there, where they had the sheets. Still haven't taken it down. They're over here on Wells Street. They building fences up. You don't know what's going on back there now. And that's against the ordinance. You can't build high fences right up on the lawn and all the way around without a structure being there. But there's so much going on that we just ain't talking about, but we have to start talking about it. So I appreciate the conversation, but we're gonna have to start holding people accountable. And if we don't hold our school board accountable, hold us accountable, hold the chief accountable, hold the deputy chief accountable, hold the judges accountable, hold Mr. Duncan accountable for doing nothing.
Thank you, Mr. Adams. Appreciate your presentation.
Mr. Chair.
City Manager, thanks for the shout out. Order in the court, please. Y'all have to take those sticks off. Order. Mr. Manager.
Mr. Chair.
I'm here, so I don't know. That's all it is.
Manager, need to make a statement, please. Can we have your attention?
I can wait.
Go ahead.
Mr. Chair, you said the most important part, and I guess everyone missed it. You said that it's happening in other cities. So I would recommend that you find those models in those cities and let them be the basis for your work. Start.
Okay.
Well, you still didn't answer my question.
Which question?
Yeah,
Are you gonna run the office? Yeah.
So I'm glad you asked. I guess the first thing would be, what would be the city's next step, right? And then I can show up for that.
It's just,
It's to form a committee.
Form a committee.
That's our, we serious.
and we
I
are,
am too.
We said, I know you are.
we'll
So are
be
you
pushing for
ready?
you,
So if they,
for you to be the chair of that
For you
committee.
to be, so you,
yes.
do we have a space here, if in case you need a space?
Would there be a youth department that we're trying to start?
No, that's not.
Not a department,
Okay,
we're a
that's something totally
committee.
different.
So that's, yeah.
Get out of my ballpark.
We want positive.
All right, Mr. Duncan, you at the table for questions.
Yeah,
You already know when the next meeting is that I need to attend,
Okay.
and I'll be there.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
Move it to the next meeting.
What's the next, yeah, that'll be the, October, first meeting in, first Wednesday in October.
First Wednesday in October?
Yeah.
Okay, and I just show up, I'm just showing up.
Yeah, hopefully we'll be to put together a resolution to go through, you come out of your committee.
Yeah.
Okay, all right,
Good, thank you so much.
okay. My turn.
go ahead.
I want to sit on your board. They won't let me sit on any of these other boards. And we have,
That's a committee.
that's a committee, I can't sit on a committee.
Why not?
Yes,
Okay.
we know why.
Okay,
Okay.
then we should address all of these other problems today then too, huh?
Let's,
Okay,
October bill,
Yep.
we go from there.
Yeah, okay.
you said what now? I was talking. I didn't hear you.
Wait for them, first Wednesday in October, and then we'll go.
Legislative committee.
Okay. Will this program be addressing reparations? Then, if that's a yes, I would like for our commissioners to, what you say, fill out some kind of form to start some kind of inquiry about reparations. Then we wouldn't have to worry about our high school.
Well,
We wouldn't have to worry about Bobo Brazil Center. And we can use our beach for a lot of things of our own. And let me say this too, pulling in all of these other whirlpools and all of that into our programs like you're discussing here, that's like pulling the enemy into your camp. Now, I'm gonna say this, if we're gonna do that, then I don't want to sit on your board. Because I know who my enemy is. I'm talking our name. You want me to?
No.
Oh. Okay. If you guys don't know, see me after the meeting, I'll tell you who your enemy is. You too, sister. Don't smile, because you might not know me. You young, and most of you young people don't know. Some of us old folks didn't know. We didn't even know Jim Clark Park was out. I was almost 60 years old. They used to put us off the beach.
All right.
And the same enemy, they didn't even want to talk about it, but they stole our sand. So.
All right, we're gonna move to the next item on the agenda. And presentation from Jenna.
May I go back?
Okay.
Okay, and there is no microphone?
Okay.
You don't need one, we can hear you.
Okay, I am a school teacher also.
Okay.
I can see that my phone. I am.
Yeah. Would you go sit over there so you can be on the microphone there? You don't need the
Oh, okay.
computer, do you?
I'm gonna put this here. And I will take 3 minutes.
Okay.
And
Start,
so, right here.
start out, state your name and, where you're
Yeah,
from.
just grab that microphone.
Finance Director. Good evening. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, I am Jean McElveny, and I am representing a group of nurses from Lakeland Spectrum Hospital. And what they have asked me to do today is one of their nurses of 31 years who, Gina McElveny, who happens to be my daughter, she died last year from pancreatic cancer. She had been at the emergency room for 31 years. She started at the old Mercy Hospital, stayed there till it shut down, was very involved with the Benton Harbor community, very involved with the Herbie Clinic, which unfortunately is not here anymore. Some of you may even know her from the emergency room. Anyhow, what they would like to do is put up a sign, which is right next to the police officer, at the kayak launch, which is at the head of the trail by Renaissance in the golf course. But I believe we need permission from you. It's metal and it's well made and it weighs a ton. It is made for the outdoors. It's really careful, it's heavy. And call it Gina's Land, oh, thank you. Call it Gina's Landing, and my committee would be very active in either putting it up, or if your service department wants to do it their way, which they might, we would be happy to help. But it says Gina's Landing, and it has the date of birth and the date of death. She was avid kayaker, and I know a ton of people in Benton Harbor she worked with and helped, and I'm sure even some of you might know her. So I am requesting permission from this group to put up this sign.
All right, Mr. Manager, is that, I don't know if that fit in any ordinances or thing, what is your comment on that?
We wanted to hear the presentation. We looked at the material that came in. We haven't found anything yet, but we will do an investigation to make sure of that. But we wanted you to hear.
Can you give us, do you have a
Location
location?
again?
Do I have a picture of her? I bet you know
Yes,
her.
I understand the kayak launch, because I did kayak, but where at that launch, because I know that big metal building is there. Is there a pole that's gonna go up? Where will it be placed at that kayak launch?
It would have to be put on a pole. There are some poles there already that they could be put on, or we
Ma'am.
would be happy to put up another pole.
Could you go back to the mic so we can record this?
Oh, that's what I was asking, because I do kayak, so I was wondering where would it go? Because there's no hard structure to place it on.
There is a pole there, but we would be happy to put up another pole that would do the job.
On the right or the left-hand side, because you have bushes on one side, you have the boat launches in the middle, and then you have the business that's there.
Yeah.
So what side are you?
We would like it by as close to the boat launch as possible so that those using the kayaks could see it, because we kind of want it to be a kayak thing. And if we get permission, we'll make a study of it and come up with something that's feasible. Pardon?
Okay,
Public, go ahead.
thank you, Chair. That is so beautiful, and I want to know who made it. For another purpose, I'll get that information. Just a suggestion. When you go to other communities and you, in other people's communities, spending your money and see all of the recreational things they have going on. I remember being in Virginia, and at one of the stops, no, Pennsylvania, and at one of the stops, there were a lot of plaques, and the way it was slanted downward. And looking at what we're doing and trying to recreate this area over here, and we have walkways or bikeways, it would be nice if it was somewhere in the middle or on the end or the beginning of the trail where if someone just stopped and got a rest and they wanted to just read a little something, I think that there should be more.
The trailhead is right there, and
Yeah.
and I think there's some benches there,
Okay,
if that's your question.
and for the future, you might want to add on by having just maybe, if that kayaker isn't there and it's somebody else, but just to give significance to the area, to put up one that may be able to withstand the rain, even if it's in wood form, a big kayak close to it in a leaning like position or something, to, I don't know, something concrete, but so it has a slant.
I like what you're saying, but we came up with that, and that will take the weather.
Yeah,
That thing is solid.
yeah. I think though that I like it because we are recreating ourselves, inventing ourselves as a resort kind of sort of area where tourism is going on. And when they go to our boat launch, they have more there. Like, what is that? You know, something to capture the eye, and there should be something about your baby on a plaque down lower about her life.
Well, we don't want to bore you. We actually do
Some
have.
people find it fascinating.
We do have something at the charter school here in Benton Harbor. They put up a painting for the children to find peace. It's in the library with her name, and then the librarian will tell the story. The 4-H at the fair had a special trophy this year for the non-traditional children working with dogs, and they had the Gina McElveny Grand Champion Trophy. So there are people, a lot of people know her. She was so involved in the community.
You say charter school. Which
Thanks
charter?
for that, for the sake of time, we got to move
Right here.
to the next.
Very,
Dan, can you?
very, very quickly, I guess I'll be that guy. Why here? Was she city resident, born and raised, worked in the city? Did we check the other municipality? Why Benton Harbor? And then we'd have to get a poll to put it up on our dollar. I guess that's my question.
That's something that'll be worked out through, city manager's office, and then I'm sure he'll come back with, some type of recommendation. So all those questions will be answered, and, you know, if it's any calls, anything like that. So, it's basically, I think the concept is just being presented to us, and then we have to work out all the other details. I would say one of the, reasons if, the person did, serve in this community, at Mercy Hospital before they tore that down for years, and I did know her, from my, police career going into the ER and stuff, so, so that's about, I'm sure that's some of the reasons why, but if you want to add to that.
And the fact that your kayak launch is such a special place. I mean, it's a great spot. Everybody goes there. And so that's why we felt that was a good spot. And our group would work with you. And I know you don't have a lot of money, so we would not stick you with a lot of, some bills and stuff. We'll help with that.
Okay. Another question from,
Probably the last one. Are you gonna leave the sign here? Because one of the things I probably would have done, because I do understand that, probably would have came first before I had the sign made to see if we could have found something, maybe, if it can't be that large, because I can't, as a kayaker, I've been down there, so I know exactly how that area looks, because I do kayak. So that sign, I'm thinking in my mind, where would it go? Because I know the area. And so I don't see, just from just my own, that sign is very large to be put on a pole right on either side of that. It's a bit large. So I probably would have come here first. So I think the city is going to be.
Yeah, once they work out all that.
Well,
Work out all the details.
Could I know I could trust you, right? And leave the sign with you?
With the city manager.
Oh, okay, I can trust him?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Okay, and he looks like a very honest man, so, Okay.
Yes, absolutely.
Can I get it in before you?
Yes, I have my card right here, and I will leave
We
my,
have some pillars that need to be moved. It would be nice to have one of the pillars set over there and launch it on that.
All kind of ideas, so we.
Yeah.
I don't mind.
Thank you.
Doing. I don't mind what she's doing. Let me say that right now before you guys get your little looks on and everything. We are finished talking about that now.
You got something on that?
I can add something to that, yeah.
Go ahead.
Okay. We have all park. With no sign on it. I would like, as a concerned citizen, to hurry up and see one on there. And while I'm here, I'd like to see a water fountain at Mickey Yarborough's Park. And I know it costs money, but we can take out a loan. Before it turns into somebody else's park, or like high school, before it ends up being somebody else's high school or their property. Looking past everything what's happened and all these people coming in, asking to do this and asking to do that. Every time they want to do something, they got to put a sign there. And I'm not saying anything about this lady because I want her to get that. But when you got people who volunteer to do something like at the beach, put all those signs up on Jerry Clark Park, I didn't appreciate that, and it came through the emergency manager to do that. I'd like to see us put our own ornaments on our own properties. I'd like to see those removed. I personally, that's why I'm here representing me right now, because it's after the history of not knowing that the beach was even ours for a lifetime. I couldn't even tell my kids that. I had to tell my grandkids that, and my great-grandkids that. We need to do for ourselves, use our own resources. Our beach look better than all the beaches in California. I lived there for a long time. Our beach is the best beach probably in the United States that I think. But like I said, I didn't know it was even mine, even though I went out there and ran in the dunes as a kid. That's where we ended up because we got so much flat down on the shoreline, just being there, kids. Let's mark our own territory. Let's put stipulations where they can't get. Let's put up make our own stipulations. It's a home rule city where nobody can have a high school. I don't care if you have to talk to the school board. Seems like that's who everybody point their finger at whenever you start talking about the high school. Pass the buck and said, go talk to the school board. I'm going to ask that our commissioners take it upon yourselves, and if you need some help from the senior citizen, I'll be glad to help too, to ensure that we keep our high school. And it don't take I don't think it takes a rocket scientist to figure out how to do that. There's a lot of people.
Point of order.
You interrupted me, I will interrupt you.
You do.
I will do it more now.
That's a point on it. Okay, Jim.
You're not telling her that.
No.
You telling me
Talking
that?
about a kayak sign.
No, I'm
I
saying,
don't care about the kayak sign. I didn't say nothing about the kayak sign.
I know.
Other than to do it. What do you, I said to do it. Did you hear me say that?
You've been wonderful.
can we finish up?
Yes.
See, that's what I'm talking, okay,
You're right, you're right.
point of order, point of order.
Let's finish it up, sir.
No, I want you to stop this kind of attack on me. You got Commissioner Cecil does the same kind of stuff. And I want you guys to stop. I've asked you in 1,000 different ways. I've talked to each and every individual
What are you
commissioner.
talking to? I know you ain't talking to me. You finna start something? Oh, come on, baby. You better cut it out, baby.
I know these ain't
Don't want
commissioners.
me on.
No, you know, some of y'all getting in the middle of my conversation.
Can you finish it? Can,
I want to, but you guys want to just keep on.
I'm trying to get some more for you, man. So can y'all now
Fast
finish?
enough.
Can y'all now finish?
Anytime somebody says something against me in this place, I want somebody up there to say a point of order, leave Mr. Duncan alone, because Mr. Duncan is gonna snap on a commissioner, would wanna keep doing it. And then y'all act like y'all wanna laugh and talk and play with him about it, but I'm not laughing and playing. This is a place where we're supposed to be serious. And if we're not gonna be serious, I will help you get serious, but I will start talking. And I'm from the project. I was raised in the flats. I know how to
Mr. Duncan, I
stop
ain't
somebody
seen
from
that
talking at me.
Please.
Leave me
carry on.
alone then.
Be quiet, Mary Alice. I'm talking to you.
No,
I'm apologizing.
I didn't mean
Just
to-
be quiet.
through the chair. Through the chair. I have not one time come here with the intent to make somebody all upset. I don't, because I could really care less if you get upset with what I'm saying or not. I have a point, I'm a citizen, I have a right to say what I feel and let the chips fall where they may. That's what my grandmama used to say.
Thank you, sir. Next item on the agenda is a discussion of 5G. There's supposed to be a gentleman here today to talk about that. Mr. Manager, do you have any updates on that?
Now, I'm waiting on you, Mr. Manager. I know you just got the document, and you probably haven't had a chance to look at it.
Okay, Commissioner Henry.
I gave the city manager, let me know that he didn't have, he did a lot of research. And he found that there was no danger in his research. I asked him, was he researching with AT&T? That's what they would say. Now, the gentleman that was here before, he gave a CD with a lot of stuff on it about the 5G. But he gave it to Commissioner C, who works for AT&T. Did you get it, city manager?
No, I didn't.
Okay. So I would ask, and this information has been going around for months now. If you have any that you can share with the city manager, so, or anyone that has additional information, share it with the city manager so he can get a different perspective of what's really going on.
We're also trying to, just for information, is invite this African-American doctor out of Detroit to come down and give a presentation on what he's learned about it and how it affects everybody. So that's forthcoming.
Well, that'd be good, but he might be the wrong persuasion.
Just gonna get all the information that we can.
You know, when somebody come in and talk to us, we accept.
Anything. Everything.
You said the wrong word.
Well, we try to get all the information that we can get, so, anyway.
Being optimistic.
Yep. All right, anything else on the 5G? Hearing none, we're gonna move to the next item on the discussion is.
So, I'm sorry, sir. Will it be back on the agenda as soon as you get it with the doctor?
Yeah, we'll keep going.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Next item on the agenda is a discussion about the Director of Public Health, and it's basically just a quick discussion on it. Our city charter talks about the Director of Public Health, and that person is the is, in the charter says that it should be a licensed physician. And then basically they serve as recommendations, giving recommendations to the commission, also keeping the community informed. So we're working on coming to putting something together for that and bringing that to the commission as well. That will be coming back to the next committee with information, written information to how we want to see that structured. Yeah.
A physician, you said?
And directed, the person who serves in that position have to be a licensed physician.
I'm sorry, in what position was that?
Director of Public Health.
Okay. Oh, okay, okay. Okay, yeah, okay.
And that's actually strictly a volunteer position. Commissioner Harrison.
Thank you. Did they already pick someone, or do they have anyone in mind for this?
Well, I believe that I had to go back and really check the charter again, and I don't know if that person have to be a city resident or a person in the city. And right now, from my research, unless somebody know anybody else, the only licensed physician that's in the city right now is
Dr.
Dr.
Tom.
Tash, yeah.
Yeah, and he's already on the personnel finance, and he's well qualified. Yeah, I would recommend Dr. Time that he would accept that, I mean.
Well, we gotta work out, the details of how we want to structure that anyway, so
Okay.
that's premature right now.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, you just put it on there?
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you, through Chair. I hate to bring this up, but I'm not gonna go back up to the presentation of, racial equity and equality. But when looking for such a person, for this position, I think it would do us good to make sure that they have the quality of dealing with their own biases and non-political, not someone that's caught in politics, because some people don't know how to separate some things. And as a businesswoman, it's very important that you know how to separate friendships from business from associates, and a whole lot of other stuff. And some people just don't know how, and that's what I saw or have seen with thine own eyes and heard with thine own ears. And I'm sure there will be the ones that,
Like you say,
make that decision.
it's something that we working
Okay.
on to be bringing forth later, so.
Who is we?
That's well, it's part of this committee, and then we'll be bringing it to the full
May
commission.
not be me.
Yeah, okay. So, next item on the agenda is review of the medical marijuana application.
We are completely done with reviewing all of the applications, and now we're working on sending out letters to the applicants.
21.
21, and totally done, in every category, and completely done. Thank you.
Now, y'all know it, that's just music to Mary Alice's ears.
Wait a minute.
And,
But
There's a
and
hole in
hopefully
the
by,
boat, Mary Ellen. Okay. There's a hole in the boat.
Okay, you got any comments, Commissioner Henderson?
I was gonna say,
To the manager.
and also to add on to that, we hope to have a checklist for everyone to know exactly what they have to do. The same thing for everybody. We hope to have that by Friday, no later than Monday.
Okay, so is that the, what was it called, the QFR? That we put together, was it QFR or RFQ? With, the way that we put something together to score? Or you
The
said,
RFQ is a request for quotes.
Oh, no, this was, I forgot what we called it, what was this? The one thing that we put together, for scoring, what was that?
That won't be until the application comes.
Okay, so we yet have to get them, or are we gonna fix that process? I don't know.
We're not there yet, but when we get to the city commission, when you score, you will actually score each applicant. So
Okay,
that's
yeah.
when you're-
Okay, all right. We're gonna keep it simple and do some fast tracking.
That's right.
Cause ain't nobody else got no business in Michigan, well, on this side of the state even moving, it should have been us first. But no, we like our potholes. We fell in love with them.
Okay, that completes the agenda item. I just want to add that, a little bit of, admonishment, when we conduct these meetings, I'll just ask that everybody, treat everybody with some respect. The outbursts and everything is really counterproductive and, makes the meeting go longer than it should, and also create some hardships, and feelings among each other. And that's something we just don't want to do. It's counterproductive and it slows up progress. And, we should be about moving. And, we can agree to disagree, but we just ask that everybody respect everybody, hold your thoughts, and then when you get called on, then you gotta have some order to the meeting. So hopefully that we can take that to heart. And, let's have some good meetings. We are being recorded, and we definitely don't want to show ourselves as, being, like we don't know what we're doing and fall into those stereotypes that they already put on us. I would appreciate that. With that, this meeting adjourned.
I'm like, come on, Krista.